Hey y'all, welcome back to Jay's Jeep and Classic Car channel. Today we'll be installing the radiator on the CJ2a. After we fixed it from the leak, I believe it has a little hairline crack still, but it doesn't seem to be leaking real bad. When I put fluid in it, I see a little moisture down in the pan after a few minutes, but nothing dripping out like it was. So we're going to go with it for the time being, mainly because our goal on this is to get it running, and then we'll go back and make it look pretty. And so that's one of the things that affected my decision on not addressing any of this stuff right here. Normally I would have gone ahead and taken the time to sand that all down and paint it, but since I really plan on replacing that radiator at some point, I'm just going to roll with it as it is. It was a tough decision, but ultimately I decided I wanted to get it on the road. I'm really close to having it rolling, I believe. I looked at my goals and I said, hey, do I want it to be pretty, or B, do I want it to run? And ultimately I just want it to run and get going, and so that's where we ended up. So we're going to install this back in today, hopefully, as long as the rain holds off. It's been raining for like 3 days straight, and yeah, we'll go from there. So to install this thing, really it's only 3 bolts. You got the 2 bolts on the bottom and 1 on the top, with the support that goes from the pretty much right at the firewall back over to the radiator. So the trickiest part is to get it up over the fan. Alright, so we have the radiator. We're coming from the passenger side, and really you can come from either side. And we already put those pads down, and so yeah, I didn't hit the hole yet, so we gotta make sure they come down into the hole. So we're just trying to line it up here to drop down into the hole there and not pinch fingers or anything like that. There we go. And putting it in really wasn't too bad. So now we just got to tighten up everything and get it secure. Alright, so I'm having a soul searching moment here, to hook up the hoses first or to bolt the thing in place. And I think I'm going to put the hoses on first, mainly just for the flexibility of it, and so that I already know that bottom connection is a weak point, and so I think that flexibility back and forth to be able to put it on. I've already put just a little bit of dielectric grease just on the inside of the hose, just so that it will help it kind of slide on there, without hopes of stressing that connection too much on both of them, because I feel like that's kind of the weak point on both of them at this point. You know, it really wasn't much at all. I mean, it was less than, I would say, the point of a pencil. And so really I didn't want to get a ton on there in any way, shape, or form. And actually, if you've ever used this stuff before, you know it separates real easily. So really I just kind of put that clear stuff that comes out versus the white that when it's good and mixed. So hopefully that works. We'll see. Yeah, we'll go from there. So we're going to go with our most challenging connection first. Just trying to gently put her on there. We really don't want a lot of stress on her that we can avoid. We're going to pull that clamp up so that we can get a good angle on it. It went on pretty easy. Now we're here to our top. Again, I got some flexibility here. This hose is pretty stiff. There we go. But once you get it over there, It goes on real nice. And I actually cut this one to length. I got all these at the local Napa, quite frankly. And they had them all. And so that's what I went with. So not too bad. Now we're going to tighten both clamps up and go from there. Just one little note. With band clamps, you want to make sure when you put them on that you make them really easy to be accessible. It's something I learned in racing, that you just want to make sure that it's easy to get to, that it's turned right, that you don't have to be on your head to get to it, if possible. And so yeah, you just kind of want to get it to where it's clamping, but obviously that it's easy to get to, that the screw isn't in a weird place and hasn't slid down at a weird place or something like that. It's a little thing, but if you don't think about it, it can make a huge difference in the end. So again, I'm also just using a regular manual screwdriver here. I'm not using a power tool or anything like that because I don't want to crush that brass tubing right here. Okay, so we've got the hoses on and we've tightened those down pretty good. If you noticed, I put this one here because there's a nice space that I can get a flathead screwdriver on that thing and make it real easy. May not make the most sense for you depending on what type of clamp you're using and what kind of head's on it, but for me that made a lot of sense. There's some good access there, so whatever works for you is great. So next we got this rod here that goes basically from the firewall, we'll just call it firewall, all the way over to support the radiator. We're going to put this in next because I think I'm going to need that flexibility forward and back to be able to get it in. I might actually have to loosen these now that I think about it. Didn't really think about that because I did have to rock it pretty good to get it off. But we'll see. We're going to try to get that on as is and tighten that down, and then we'll tighten up the nuts on the bottom. All right, so we're just going to try to get enough slack in there. Yeah, we should be able to get it. There we go. That it kind of supports it. So before we put this on, I'm going to put a little anti-seize on it. But quite frankly, I haven't used anti-seize a whole lot on the Jeep. I've used a lot of new either stainless or grade bolts, and hoping that that will give me the liberty to get them out again. It's probably a mistake thinking about it right now, as a matter of fact, but it is what it is. And so we are going to put it right here because we do plan on taking this back off again, and we want to be able to get it off. So I've just got a little bit of it. You just need a little dab of it. A little dab goes a long way with this stuff, and two, it is very messy, which is probably part of the reason why I didn't use it. We're just going to put a little dab on there, and that's all we really need. And as you can see, I'll bring the camera around here. It's just a little bit, just enough to get the nut and bolt on, or nut and lock washer on, and I'll clean this part up. We're just going back with the original bolt here, and then to tighten it up. Probably eventually we'll replace all that, but for the time being we're just going to use that. So it's 5/16, so that means it's a 1/2 inch wrench, and we got our impact driver here, and so we're just going to tighten her up. Oops, helps when you have it turning the right way. Whoops. Sometimes you turn it the wrong way. It happens. There we go. There we go. Let's try this again. That's good and tight, I'm sure. Oh yeah. It ain't going nowhere. So that's good. Okay, just to speed things up, I went ahead and pre-started those holes. Looks like we got some incoming weather to battle. And so this is a 5/8 size socket. If I can get it on there. Again, this is one of the reasons I like the 12 volt, is that it's compact and will fit in tight places. So I went ahead and put anti-seize in there, and now we're going to tighten her up. And we'll finish that off on the other side after we tighten up the other side. Just real quick, I was looking and it looked like I had a nice puddle going on in the bottom of that radiator frame, and so it looks like I need to replace it sooner rather than later. Doesn't look like it's a huge leak, but I'm afraid as it gets pressurized and heat on it, it's probably going to open up a little more than I would like. But you know, we'll see. It's just one of those things. If your Jeep is leaking, then it's running kind of things. So that's kind of how you install the radiator. Hopefully that helps you. I appreciate y'all watching. It's time for supper. Take care, y'all.